All right, back again for the last lecture for week 4 on commenting, this time on reviewing, on making suggestions for changes. Okay, and this is a really powerful tool also built right in to Word. Okay, so our comments, our document, exactly how we left it. Okay, so we're going to look at each comment. I suggest centering the title, right? Well, not only can we make that comment, but we can make the change and make it be visible to the person who's going to read it, and they can decide if they want to accept or reject that suggestion. So we go to review again. This time we go to track changes. Now we only use track changes when we're reviewing someone else's document. So we need to make sure we take this off after. Okay, and I'll show you why. Okay, so I'm going to put track changes for everyone. So anyone getting this document can comment and make changes. You'll notice that my little picture here is on all my comments because I'm signed in to my Microsoft account, and so yours would, and you and your name would show up here as well, and you could have 3 or 4 people making comments. Okay, so track changes is on for everyone. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the title, go to the Home tab, and hit Center. Okay, now what that did is that added this marker here, right? And if I click on the highlighted section, it's going to say that I changed the formatting and I centered it. Accept or reject. Pretty cool, huh? Accept, boom, change is made. Okay, but you're not going to do that. You're going to leave these suggestions in there for me to be the person to accept or reject, because I need to know that you know how to use track changes. But that's how an author would do it. Always got to have my water here. Okay. Now the next thing, and again, make sure track changes is on. My comment was, hey, you capitalize the first word of each sentence. Do this quickly using the change case tool. Well, okay, so I could highlight all this text. I could go to the change case tool and use sentence case. Okay. And beep. Now there we go. Okay, so then this should be in 1 or 2 paragraphs, right? Instead of hitting the enter button after every sentence. So I'm going to go put my cursor right before the enter button and hit delete. Okay, and I'm going to do this, delete, and it's going to turn it red. Delete, delete, delete. Okay, so now you'll notice that it centered this text, but because I have comments that are kind of binding this text, it's not going to actually show those changes until the reader accepts them. Okay, so now you've made your 3 comments and your 3 suggestions. This document is saved in the cloud. All right, so now we can go to review and have track changes off. Okay, now as a reader, I can go through and look at the change. I said center, and Then we go to the next one. Now it's going through the comments. Let me see. There we go. I deleted a paragraph marker. And this one's being a bugger because I only highlighted this one word, and so it's not wanting to show me that change that I made of changing this to sentence case. Next, right? And it's going down to all those paragraph markers that I changed, right? Microsoft needs to be spelled with a capital. And if I have changes on and I make that change, come on, you'll notice that it crosses out the old and puts in the new. Now, when you're ready to actually start making changes to your document, you want to turn track changes off. And this is why. One of the other errors that I noticed, right? Let's say I've received this document from you and I'm looking at it and going, oh, well, I noticed Word isn't capitalized either. And if you go in and start to capitalize Word, you're like, wait a second, it tracked that change. Why? That's weird, right? You need to go in and turn track changes off. Okay. Now, as the reader, I can go and look at this first change, format centered. Do I accept or reject? I can accept it, and it's there. Deleted paragraph marker, yes, but you'll notice that just because I deleted the paragraph marker, there still needs to be a space in between those two sentences, right? And it doesn't do that automatically. So you got to pay attention to what you're accepting or rejecting as you go through your document. Okay? And then, oops. Accept. It has a hard time between the spell checker and the, you just keep going, hit accept if you want, and it'll accept them all. But again, there's errors that will be embedded in there, and now you kind of get screwed up. Okay, so what you're going to turn into me is all of the suggested changes, which you need to have at least 3, and comments about what those are. Okay? Descriptive comments. Okay? And you're going to keep track changes on. You're not going to, you don't need to accept or reject any of them for when you turn them in. You can play around with it as you're learning it, but this is what this complete assignment document looks like. Okay? So then I'm going to go back to home, and it says review mode, and that's because we have track changes on. If that bothers you, you can turn it off. It's still going to be saved. Okay? So I'm going to close this document, right? It's still in my OneDrive folder that I saved it to, but I'm going to open it again just so you can see. There's my comments. And if I go to review, I can accept or reject or just preview. You know, go to the next change. What's the next change? And what's the next comment? Okay? And this is what it'll look like when you submit it to me. Okay? So, important tool for you to use when you're having someone review a resume, a paper. This is a great way for them to make those revisions. If you are getting reports and things submitted to you, it's a great way to give feedback to others. It's a built-in tool within Word. It's amazing. Saves a lot of time. You know, and I always used to hate, you know, getting my papers back from my English teacher with a lot of red marks on it. And the red marks are like their own little language, which Somehow I was expected to understand. I had to actually buy a book that showed me what all those little marks were. That was not fun. I like this way much better. Okay, so that's it for this week. Just get that word assignment in, and hope you had a great weekend. And as we start this new week, if you have any questions, please reach out. Send me a text. Let me know how you're doing. All right. Thanks again for watching.